I came from living out of a van, eating noodles from 7-Eleven, barely making any money. And then I get to this set and they're like, okay, Alex, welcome to the set. The buffet for breakfast is right over there. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Like, I can eat that stuff?
Welcome to Story and Craft. Now, here's your host, Mark Preston.
All right, welcome back. So glad to have you back here for another episode. If this is your first episode of Story and Craft, hi there. My name is Mark Preston. Glad to have you along. Today we are chatting with Aleks Paunovic. He is an actor from Canada. You might know him from iZombie, Van Helsing. He is in the new and final season of AMC's Snowpiercer. Great conversation. Aleks used to be a boxer. He used to be in a heavy metal band, and just a great story. He didn't even really start seriously acting until he was, I think, 40. Had a great time sitting down and learning a little bit more about his story. It's a good one. You'll enjoy it. Do me a favor if you would, as I always humbly request, make sure to follow Story and Craft on your podcast app because you'll get notified every time there's a new episode. Leave some stars. Leave a little review. It's very much appreciated. Also, everything you could possibly want to know about the show is at storyandcraftpod.com. You want to find out about past guests, you want to shoot me a note, whatever, it's all right there on the website. All right, so let's jump into it. Today is Aleks Paunovic Day right here on Story and Craft. Where are you joining me from today?
I'm in Vancouver. How many years of radio have you done?
Let's see here. I worked in radio for 20 years, I think something like that.
You have an amazing radio voice. You have an
That's
amazing voice.
That's very kind of you. No, I was, last show I did, kind of like Michael Corleone, they kept pulling me back in. And I left to do voiceover and act. But the last thing I did, I had a syndicated show on the ABC radio network. And I was like, my kids were getting to that age where I was like, I want to spend a little bit more time with them. Radio was taking up so much time. I was like, but I had so much fun though. But so that's kind of the DNA of this podcast at some level. It kind of came from my radio days. Let's see, I talked to someone else who was in Vancouver. Anya Savcic. I spoke with her.
Oh, yeah. She's a fellow Croatian. So that's hilarious. Two Vancouverites. Yeah, exactly.
Vancouver. What time zone, y'all? It's already past lunchtime, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it's like 2, I guess, just after 2.
So what did we do for lunch today?
Honestly, yeah, I just finished fight rehearsal for a movie, a bunch of, and it's stuff that I haven't done before. It's like a bunch of knife fighting. And so I was just totally burned out. And I just literally, because I usually take a roasted chicken that I buy at the at a store and then bust it all up. And then I just kind of just nod at.
The other day, I was like, you know what? Told my daughter, I said, I got to be mindful of what we're eating here. And I cook a lot. But I said, okay, she's not a big fan of chicken. But I'm like, man, how convenient is that? Go get one of those chickens, break it up. You can throw it into rice. You can throw it into a soup.
Totally.
We're in Texas, so you can do fajitas out of it, something, or tacos or whatever have you.
Yeah.
Not fajitas, because that's a whole different thing. And I don't want to lose my Texas license here. But I'm kind of a late comer to some shows because I've got to watch so much. I don't have to watch. I get to watch so much stuff with folks I speak with. And I ran across iZombie. I was just on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
That was like 2015, 2016. When did you do that?
Oh, man. Yeah, 2015, yeah. One season I did, yeah. I love that show. The writing on that show, Rob Thomas created it. I thought they did I have friends now that were on the show that were lifelongers just because it was great writing, so it was a great atmosphere, and it was just
there was a lot of wit to it. That's something.
A lot of wit. It was, yeah. Raul, who's a buddy of mine who's just been doing some amazing work lately. He's I love seeing his star rise. I love seeing everyone kind of excel.
It's funny you've been on programs that are on my to watch list. Van Helsing, Snowpiercer, want to watch those. I just never gotten around to it.
Right.
Now, you're in Vancouver, but how did you, kind of origin story, how did the acting thing kick off for you? Was it in Vancouver, or did you kind of do a move away to LA or at New York to start your thing there?
Well, it's interesting because I played in a band for years since I was like 15 years old. I kind of just got, the boys get together and we just started playing, and then from that, the same group of guys, like we were playing in bars before we were allowed to be in
Now, were you doing
bars.
original stuff, or was this mostly you're covering?
Well, it was covering. We were doing covers, but we were writing stuff. But the covers got us into bars, and then we would slip in a few originals. Actually, we're still recording. I'm still recording with the same guys from high school.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah, we're called Specula Black. It's a metal band, and we're on Spotify. If you ever want to.
Specula Black. Okay, you got the name.
Yeah, right. It's all can't be more metal than that. Can't be more metal than that. And so, but we would tour, and then I was just playing a bar, and a casting director asked if I would audition for something in my hometown, and I was like, yeah, I'm a yes guy, so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I went in there, auditioned, had fun. There was no pressure to it because my career was music, and then I ended up booking it, and just being on set, it was just very cool. It was something that with a band, all five have to be in sync, and with acting, it was something where it's like I was in control, which goes back to my boxing days, where when I go into the ring, okay, everything that I learned, now I got to bring it into the ring. It's just me. It's not a team sport. And then and I feel like that's the same type of vibe with acting. And so I ended up getting the role, but I was really enamored with how the machine worked. So that was in Winnipeg, and Winnipeg's such a small community. And the stunt team there was the Skeen stunt team, which is Rick Skeen, and his sons have gone on to stunt coordinate and start directing right now, which is awesome to see. But there was only one stunt team. So when I did this little gig called Heads, with John Cryer, Ed Asner, Jennifer Tilly, and I didn't know any of them really except from TV. And I thought that was cool.
About how old were you when you did this?
Oh, see, I started late. That was just a whim. So that was in '93. So I would say that was in my early 30s. And so with that, it was a one-off. I just thought it was really cool. It was a cool experience. And then, but I really, really enjoyed it. And so I thought during my band days, leading like later on after the band broke up, I joined a cover band, and I just wanted to have fun because we were just grueling and like hitting the road all the time.
Who was it that was inspiring you in the band days? Like, what bands were you listening to? Like, was it like Nine Inch Nails?
Way back.
We're going even further back than that.
Yeah, we're talking Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, early Metallica. Ozzy Osbourne was a huge influence, Black Sabbath. So we were playing those type of tunes.
So kind of pre-hair band.
Yeah, around the same time, we just decided to do more metal, and that was our thing. Like Motley Crue, I was a fan of too, but our singer just had that amazing voice that fit Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest and Metallica really well, and those were bands that we really kind of admired. And that kind of was the road gig for us. I loved playing metal because it was so energetic. It was so like I wasn't a very good bass player, but I felt like I was a really great entertainer, and I loved being on the stage, and I loved making people watch the band. So I would run around. I would throw my hair around, and it was very, very metal and high action, and that's what we love to do. Like when a set was over, you were just dripping in sweat. I loved playing that. But now, like what I love to listen to is, Nathaniel and the Night Sweats and just a bunch of, like, I love Foo Fighters too. I love those type of bands too. But I love lo-fi. I've been digging lo-fi. So yeah, I just kind of love more bluesy, more.
Yeah, is it me or is it lo-fi kind of making a resurgence with the younger folk?
Yeah, my niece got me into that.
It seems like the college age, they're kind of gravitating to that, you know.
Yeah, I'm all over the map. Like even Ed Sheeran, I dig some of his stuff too. Like I'm just all over the map. I love a bunch. Like there's a great playlist on Spotify called Gritty Acoustic. Like that type of vibe, you know? So yeah, that's the kind of stuff I like to listen to now.
By the way, you worked with Ed Asner. I was curious what it's like. I heard he was kind of a salty, fun, kind of a cool dude. Like, did you have that much interaction with him when you were in that film?
I had a little bit of interaction. Roddy McDowall was actually like I was Roddy McDowall's butler, and it's so crazy, man. The full circle that happens because Roddy McDowall was in the first Planet of the Apes. Years later, I end up being in War for the Planet of the Apes, and I was just like, what a life I'm leading right now because I was just so enamored with him, and he was so generous with just like talking about those experiences.
So did they shoot this film in Canada, in Winnipeg, or?
They shot it in Winnipeg, and I was playing in a bar in Winnipeg, and she just asked if I would audition for this, and I did. And again, there was no stress about it because I already had a career in music that I was pursuing. So I wasn't nervous going into this audition. And so I kind of made it fun, and me and the director and I had a good rapport right away. And then I just ended up getting the gig, and I just thought it was really interesting being in that world. And honestly, like I came from living out of a van, eating noodles from 7-Eleven, barely making any money. And then I get to this set, everything's new to me. And they're like, okay, Alex, welcome to the set. The buffet for breakfast is right over there. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Like I can eat that stuff and as much as I want? They're like, yeah, I'll go. So that was one of the genesis for me of going, okay, I think I want to learn this craft so I can eat whenever I want as opposed to getting these little noodles and stuff. So anyway, I made it on set. It was a great experience. Became friends with the stunt coordinator there, Rick Skeen. And because the stunt team is so small, he suggested, why don't you come out? You can do some more stunt stuff. I don't have a big guy for fight scenes. So because, again, very small city, any movie that came in, that stunt team was a part of. So I started learning my craft that way. But it was really interesting. It was a huge ego check because I kind of felt like I was falling out of the music stuff because the band started falling apart. And, we've been together since high school. Now we're in our, getting in our 30s and we didn't break. But it was one of those things where I was really kind of doing a shift, and I was playing cover bands. So I would be in a band playing till 2:00 in the morning, dance floors packed, women everywhere. You're on a pedestal, like you're playing music, you're a rock star in those kind of atmospheres. Drinks are flowing. But right from when I would wrap at 2 a.m. with playing the band, I would go to set and be basically a gopher so I could just be on set and learn what's going on. And Rick would always go, okay, so do this and do that. Hey, why don't you get us some coffees? And then, oh yeah, by the way, don't talk to the actors like that your job is to do stunts. So I was just enamored with the whole thing, but part of me was like, I kind of want to do that. I want to do that. And I have so much respect for the stunt community, massive respect, but it was something I just wanted to tell stories. And so I just started taking workshops because I didn't take acting seriously till I was 35. I really didn't start booking till I was 40, in my 40s. And I didn't start actually making a living till my mid 40s. So I started quite late, and I felt like I was just quite fortunate. And I didn't want to go to school for it. I wanted to do like workshops. So I did a bunch of workshops in Los Angeles and New York and Vancouver just to get a condensed idea of the craft. But when I was in Winnipeg, I realized I do love this, but what if I can't get a job in front of the camera? So I wanted to learn everything behind the camera. So I went to the National Institute of Broadcast just to learn more basically about broadcasting and making little clips and making commercials. And I was like the cameraman in Winnipeg in the CFL, the Canadian Football League. I had basically no money. And I said, I'm going to go to Vancouver, then to LA and try this acting thing. And that's when 9/11 hit when I got to Vancouver. Yeah, when 9/11 hit, I couldn't go. It was a lot harder to get across the border. So I just decided to stay in Vancouver and just kind of cut my chops here. And I'm glad I did. I got a lot of experience.
Once after 9/11, you're still up there working in Vancouver. When did you ever make your way down to LA and, start?
Yeah, I did. And I just found it. I just didn't find my people there yet. And I found a lot of great people in Vancouver. And then I got an agent in Vancouver, and then the auditions started coming, and I just felt like I felt like this was a great place to cut my teeth, because I know a lot of people that went to Los Angeles and then just wouldn't work. And like wouldn't even get, they would be excited for like 2 auditions a month. And I was getting 2 auditions a day sometimes. And I just felt like the quantity of what the work that I could possibly get in Vancouver was something that would help me get there a lot faster.
I mean, you're 6'5", you're a bigger guy. And was it mostly physical roles that they were looking at you going, this is the guy that can do that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone's typecast in a certain manner. Like you don't see Tom Cruise being a bouncer. Like
Yeah.
he is who he is, and I understood that, but I knew I wanted to tell more stories, more than Thug Number 2 or things like that. And those were the ones that were coming to me, which were fine. And then I really started to kind of dive in, because I just wanted to tell more stories from the vessel that I had. And there's an amazing acting coach who basically coached DiCaprio and Hilary Swank to their Oscars. Larry Moss, one of the best. And because I come from a boxing background, I have 3 generations of boxers in my family, and a music background, you have to rehearse. Like everyone rehearses, or Michael Jordan practices. He has a bunch of shots before he actually hits the game. So I think it's essential to get coaching and to work through a project with somebody that gives you options and ideas. But Larry changed my brain. Because like I said, I wasn't a very good bass player, but I was a great entertainer. And I brought that ideology to acting, where I felt like if I was big and either funny or scary, that I can get away with it. And he changed my life with this one thing where I got on stage, and he knew through somebody else that I used to play in a band, but no one told him what instrument I played. And so I got up there and I was kind of schmacting. I wasn't really doing a great job, but I was having fun. And I think not really doing a great job gave me an excuse to go, well, I wasn't really trying. If I sucked, I wasn't really trying. And so I was up there, and it was probably in front of 300 people, and he stopped the scene. Yeah. And he stopped the scene. And again, I have no problem in a band, but this was new to me. So I love performing, but this made me nervous. And so he stopped the scene, and he said, somebody told me that you played in a band. And I went, yeah, I did. And I'm joking around. And then he says to the audience, no offense to anyone who plays this instrument, but I'm guessing you played the bass guitar. And people laughed, and I kind of airbanded a bit, right? I went, yeah, I did. And then he yelled, he was like, quiet. And everyone just stopped, and he looked, and he just pierced me with this. He goes, how dare you play a poorly played bass when you have an orchestra inside you? And it melted me. He goes, you're ripping the whole audience off from the vessel that you have, and you're only playing the bass, and you're wasting my time, and you're wasting my money. Why am I sitting here watching you not do the best that you can? And he saw right through it, and that changed everything. I just started really it basically opened up my rib cage, and I decided, okay, if I'm going to tell stories from this vessel and the history that I've had in my life, then I've got to do it full on.
The most interesting students are usually ones a little bit older. They got more life experience. They've had more life experience, known more people. That and kids, because kids, the kid actors I work with, like some Disney Channel kids, they still remember how to play. And that's the thing. I think if you're an adult and you remember how to play and you got life experience, it's got to be so much more fun for you.
It is, but I had it backwards. Like I was playing without actually doing the work. So I got to be able to play and then really concentrate in doing the work, finding the motivation, and regardless of how, like, where the hurt was coming from when I was telling a story that had to be very vulnerable. And so once I started tapping into that and being serious about that, it allowed me to play again.
You said you came from a background of, or from family who boxed. What'd your folks do back home?
Well, back home, like my dad in the old Yugoslavia, my dad was like on his way to the 68 Olympics, cracked his knee, and that was it. And by that time, my mom was already pregnant with my brother and saying, look, I'm going to move to Canada, you in, you out. And he was like, all right, I'm in. So they came over, And my dad basically was a carpenter, and my mom was cleaning houses. It was we grew up quite poor, but you don't know it when you're a kid, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, but my mom's drive was she always wanted to see the world. She loved the idea of history, and she wanted to be a travel agent. So she got a job as a travel agent, and then she opened her own travel agency and became very successful with her own business for over 40 years.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah, so it was really an ascension from, we literally lived in this small little house. Like when we talk about it now, I'm like, I had no idea that we were that poor, where my dad would, Eastern European thing where when you don't have money, you think you're a failure, and you can't even buy milk for your kids, and how tough that was. And again, we didn't know growing up. But yeah, it was really, really tough for them, and they just persevered and my brother's a doctor and I'm an actor, and we're both thriving. And it's really great to kind of sit with the family and go, man,
You've got this Eastern European mentality, work ethic. Did that really influence you think? I mean, as far as, like you said, your father's a carpenter, to me, that's art,
yeah. Well, I mean, when I say that, he was like, putting nails in the stairs type thing. He was building houses in that
Oh, I
aspect
gotcha.
of it. Yeah, that kind of thing. He used his hands a lot, worked up north. It was a very, very, very tough job. So it wasn't very artistic. It was just the thing that he knew to do after boxing. So yeah, so and I had and him and I had a tough relationship because we're alike, and he wanted better for me, but he didn't know how to explain that in the Eastern European way. And so anything sports wise, he was right in there. But again, we butted heads. And then all of a sudden, when I asked for a bass guitar, he had no interest in it. And I was like, oh, okay. I think I like this. I like him not being around for me creating. So that's actually, the impetus that led me to music and the arts, was that he didn't want to be involved in it.
Well, it sounds like you were kind of carving out your own space.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was pushed into because I didn't want him hanging around. And then I discovered the love of it. And that's what really kind of got me into the arts. I love the idea of expression. Even boxing, like, even though we butted heads, I love boxing because there's a physical expression. It's not just two guys punching each other. It's a science to it. It's movement of its body movement. So I love the idea, and I always bring boxing into my work. When I did one of my first plays, and how nervous I was to do a first play, and I was like, wait a second, this is exactly what it feels like before I go into a fight. I know how to manage this. So I was lucky that I connected the two, and I just started shadow boxing in the back before we would go on, released all the excess energy, and then I could go out and do my work. So I was lucky that I could compare it, that I had something to compare it to. So that's how I got into the boxing end of it. But I love the creativity of it, and I had no one to teach me acting. It wasn't like, my mom wanted me to take over the travel business. And I kind of knew a lot about the travel business just with, her around the house, but it just wasn't something that I wanted to do. So to come from a place where no one knew the arts and was almost kind of looked down upon if I didn't, because again, my brother's getting a doctor's degree. So, but they were very supportive of what I wanted to do. At least I was off the streets and I was doing something that was productive, and they were hoping I would get a solid job. And everything worked out, and they were always supportive of me, which was great.
You were talking about that first film in Manitoba. Where would you go from there? What was, because I know that, you started showing up more on TV. Was there like a preference to, be a more episodic kind of stuff, or did you want to be in movies, or is it just wherever the work was you wanted to go to? Was there a plan?
I'm a big yes guy. So wherever the work was that allowed me to be creative, TV or film. And I did a film called 7 Times Lucky that was pretty soon after, probably a couple years after, another one with Dean Cain called Christmas Rush, just because I was the big kind of heavy. So I started learning it in that way, but I just love the idea of taking the craft to the a different level for me, but it was always a yes for me. Like television or film, it didn't matter. I was just happy that I got picked and I could go play and be on set. And I did a lot of things for free just to be on set. Like I did there was like a bunch of independent films and short films. I even put money into a short film that was quite a vulnerable film that no one would usually cast me in. And so I had to kind of put the money behind it so I could get that energy out. And it wasn't necessarily like for everyone to see me. It was more for me to go, can I actually do this? Can I tell the stories that I think that I can tell him? Or am I that American Idol audition where my mom says I'm really good? You know what I mean? So so it was one of those things where I like, put up or shut up type of thing. And I just wanted to put myself in positions to work. And I still feel that way. There's a few short films that came my way, and if it wasn't for me working, I'd probably do them just because I like the people. And the older I get, the more I want to work with people that I really enjoy being around.
Yeah, I saw you were in The Most Dangerous Game, and I spoke with Billy Burke, I think, right way back when he was about to start doing that. But did you have a chance to spend time with Christoph Waltz? Did you have a chance to do any work with him?
Dude, I was so looking forward to working with Christoph, but I had a different storyline, so I wasn't with him. But I was just really, I was blown away that I was even in the same show as him. But I did not get a chance to work with him. But I did. The Nick Santora, who cast me in that, he also. He enjoyed my work there, and he offered me a part in Fubar with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm a huge Schwarzenegger fan too. Like back from why is it Pumping Iron and Terminator?
Yeah. Oh God, you're going way back. Yeah,
I'm going way back because my brother was huge into bodybuilding. So. Pumping Iron, when we watched it, I was like, oh my God. And so now I'm actually in a show with them. But again, I didn't have any scenes with Arnold. But when I went to set for wardrobe, it was his last day of the season. So everyone's saying bye to him type thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I would love to meet him. So I asked the AD. I love fangirling too. I'm a big, I love it. I love being like blown away by people's work and then getting to meet them. And he was one of them. And so I asked the AD, man, if there's a chance I can just meet him, it would be great. But I totally get he's super busy. Well, let me ask him. So he went to go ask him. And he looks over the AD's shoulder. And I'm kind of like kicking rocks, kind of do. And he goes, yeah, I'll meet him. And he kind of waves me over. I'm like, this is awesome. So I put out my hand and I said, hey, thanks so much for having me a part of the show. And I'm a big fan of Pumping Pumping Iron and Terminator. And he goes, whoa. You're a big fan of Pumping Me? I went, no. Big fan of big fan of Pumping Iron. And Terminator goes, and he grabs my shoulder. He goes, I don't go that way. And he laughs his way away from me. Off he goes. And he had so much joy that he caught me in this little flub. And that was my experience with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
God, it's so funny. I was last night. We were my daughter. I'm always trying to find movies that she would want to watch. She's on her gap year down here with me, and like I was like, okay, we haven't seen True Lies yet, and that's kind of a cool movie. And they know the story. I was 21. I was working at ABC Radio, and I went and did a press junket in LA for True Lies, and I was like, oh, it's kind of a fun movie you might like, and in any being a dad, any opportunity I can tell some old stories. And right. I remember after interviewing him, it was one of those press junkets where they, all the press people are in a hotel room right. and they cycle the actors through the room. And then I'm walking out in the hallway. I just I had a chance to shake his hand, and I was quite impressed by the size of his hand. This is going back 1994, I think. So,
right.
And he was still this mountain of a dude. And I went downstairs. And I was going to go I was going to go get something to eat. And I go and I see this a Hummer there with a license plate that says Terminator. I'm like, this guy is ballsy, man. It's like, driving around LA and I'm not talking about the OG Hummers, not the ones that look like they're out.
Right. Those massive ones. Right.
You've had a couple good stretches in series. How did you land that? Was it just kind of snowballing, or you said you're a yes guy? So were these opportunities just out there and you were like jumping on them?
A lot of that, but I mean, Van Helsing, the character of Julius, started out as a recurring character for a few episodes, and I became really tight with Neil LaBute and Simon Barry, who's a dear friend of mine now, who were the showrunners, and because it's such the role of Julius, and he was a vampire. He was just such an evil dude. And then they would yell cut, and I would just be joking around and playing with everyone. Practical jokes. I love practical jokes on set. And then when it'd be time for action, I'd get back into that character.
To me, it would be like, if you're affable, easy to get along, all that, it seems like it's like the gnarlier, out there you could be. Seems like that's fun. You get to depart you for a moment.
Super fun.
Do you like to do things that are far away from your natural play, your center, if you will?
I'm nothing like that character, and I play a lot of bad dudes, and I don't necessarily think them as bad dudes. I just feel like they're willing to go that much further for what they want, and that's the kind of way I like to play it. But it's so far from who I am in real life that it's so enjoyable to play those type of characters, because I don't feel like people are seeing the real me, but I feel like everybody has those tendencies, has those even those thoughts of evilness, or how can people go that next level. And I look at it as I'm in a position to just play these type of really bad people and find the truth of these guys and why they would go that much further. Why does it resonate with me? And I have to find that for it to be that kind of a guy. So it's so much more fun to play. And then the guys on set were like, well, what if because Vanessa Van Helsing, she could, once she bites a vampire, they turn human, but they also remember all the terrible things they did as a vampire, which is such a, just drowning in guilt.
Like I say, it's still on my list of things that I haven't watched.
So I just ruined my turn for you. I just ruined my character turn for you.
No. Hey, you know what? I'll be watching it like with a bucket of popcorn, going, I know what's about to happen.
Yeah. But that turn for me, and made me human Julius. Then then they allowed me to go, okay, you know what? Why don't we give human Julius a boxing background? That's how he was discovered before he became. And then I'm a mama's boy. I'm a full-blown mama's boy. So they made me a mama's boy in the show. Like, they just were like, they kept on writing for me to the point where I became a lead during the 5 seasons of the show. So it was started out as a couple episodes, and it built into that. And the same thing happened with Snowpiercer, that we just kind of enjoyed working with each other, and they saw how they could write my character bigger. And I'm extremely fortunate that they gave me those opportunities.
Does anybody pick your brain on set? Like, hey, you're a boxer. Can you give me some?
All the time. I mean, before I started working, I was teaching boxing too, just to make some money while I was in Vancouver. Because, I was just struggling, just trying to make rent more than anything, feed myself. So boxing was a huge help for me to get some sort of income. So that kind of helped out a lot.
Now, was there any boxer like in the 80s, or anybody like Sugar Ray Leonard, anybody like that? For you, they were sort of the iconic boxer. Who was that back in the day?
Bro, Muhammad Ali.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I got so lucky. So I always had the thing in my brain, because I felt like Muhammad Ali was actually my dad. Like, the way he lived his life and how he stood up for himself, and how, he gave up 3 of his best years of boxing because he believed in something. And he was in a time where, he wasn't supposed to be so outspoken. I just loved how he carried himself. He had a tongue-in-cheek thing of joking with people, how he was with Howard Cosell. I loved all of that. And I loved all of that. And not only did he talk so much, and he antagonized people so much, but he was in a sport where it wasn't a football game where it's like the other guy blew. You're in the ring, so somebody's there to shut you up. And I love that he was so brave in that way. And I always said to myself, like, I never want to meet him just like through an airport. I don't want to have that experience of, yeah, I saw him at an airport. I'd rather just it be my experience, but it has to be special. And I got the opportunity to meet the man I mean, that's a whole story. I don't know if we have time for that, but I got to meet the man in a one-on-one, and I got to tell him basically what I told you was like, you were actually my dad. And tears are rolling down my face talking to the man. And his Parkinson was pretty thick then, but he was aware of what's going on. And I looked at his hands and I was like, that hand knocked out George Foreman. That hand beat up Joe Frazier. And he picked it up slowly and touched my chin with it. And I went like this. And it was one of the best moments of my life.
It's something like that's got to be magic. You
Dude.
know, that's those kind of things are, in my mind, kind of what you live for. Like I wasn't a big baseball player, but I remember meeting Nolan Ryan actually in the locker room when he was.
Oh man!
And I was with a friend of mine. I abused my press passes I had. I was in high school. I was at 18.
Wow.
18. We were in there, and I was like. And he's coming out of the shower just wearing a towel. I'm like, okay, is this the time to meet him? I was like, well, I don't know when there's a better time. Because I'm right here. He's right there. He can't run. No, I'm just kidding. But no, there's something about that shaking his hand going, yeah, this hand has thrown.
Yes, right?
However many strikeouts or, you know.
No, 7 no-hitters. Come on.
For me, it was, you know, that's, and plus, you know, it's Texas Rangers. Finally, my Rangers win a World Series. So yay. But you know, those kind of things, I think, are what you live for.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta let yourself be just, you know.
But not only that, it like for acting wise, I got to work with Anthony Hopkins, who was my number one, and that was another surreal moment for me.
What project was that?
It was called Black Way, and my buddy producer Rick Dugdale, who's an amazing man. And then one day he called me up and during COVID, he was like, I was just on my way to Budapest to shoot this movie. Then COVID happened, but I still want to be creative. So there's this, you want to do like a Zoom movie? Would you do a Zoom movie? I said, yeah, man, it'll keep me busy during COVID. And so we shot this cool movie. It's called Zero Contact. You can look it up. And then he got Hopkins on it, and Hopkins was home with his niece. And saying, yeah, I got nothing else to do, so why don't I just hang out with my niece and do some cool stuff? And now I'm on a poster with Anthony Hopkins, and I'm blown away that this is my life. That and we have a pretty cool friendship. We really hit it off on set. There's so many stories I could tell you about him, man. But
Ray Liotta was in that.
Yeah, Ray Liotta was that, and it was a great film. And my buddy Preston met his now wife and mother of his kids, Julia Stiles, on that gig. So it was
really okay.
We're really stoked about that. But yeah, so and Zero Contact became something where it became I just got to be on a poster and a lead with Anthony Hopkins on this film. So yeah, very cool.
So what was it like when you showed that to your folks? You know, are your folks still around, or?
Yeah, everyone's still around, and they were blown away. But when Rick goes, "Hey man, check your email," because the poster just got approved by Lionsgate. I went, "Oh, cool! I'm super stoked to see this," and I see it, and it's like Chris Brochu, who's also in the movie. The three of us in the poster for Anthony Hopkins, and I was just like, I can't believe you did this, man. He goes, well, you're the lead, you deserve it. And I'm like, wow. Yeah,
that is too much, man. That's awesome. I think people forget that when they watch the films, like the people in it are they're living their goals, their dreams, they're having moments, and I think everybody can identify with that when you get a big win. It always is just like solid.
It's such a great feeling. I never want to stop having that. I'm in my 50s here, and I just absolutely adore those moments. Even when I don't get a gig, but I went for a ride on it, like I was close. And that journey is even fun. That journey is like no one else has gone through this little thing. No, I didn't get the gig, but man, was it a blast to almost get the gig.
Yeah. Oh God, I was just talking. That's what I was talking to Anya Savcic about. I'm sorry, Savcic. I mispronounced her name. I was saying that she was in a Peter Farrelly. The TV show she was in, and the most recent movie she was in, Peter Farrelly directed it. And I said, I had a callback with him. It was like a 10-minute audition, and he's like, I don't think you're really right for this character. I was like, you know what? I was just giddy. I was like, I can just audition for one of the guys who's put together some of my favorite movies, and he's like, but I want you to go out in the hallway and I want you to work on this. I was like, oh, he sees me for
Yeah.
another character. Now I didn't get it, and it was for the Green Book, and it won an Academy Award. And so the same thing happened to Dallas Buyers Club. I mean, got really close. So I figured, hey, if you want to win an Academy Award, get me in on a callback, and then don't cast me, you'll get an Academy Award.
That's
Looking at my batting average, going, okay, well, if I'm not in it, but it wins an Academy Award,
this is going to be a hit.
I don't know. One of the things your folks are telling me about, you're doing something. I didn't have a chance to check deep into it and find out, but they were telling me about how you're doing something with water and it's mental health related. Now, tell me a little bit about what that is, what you're working on.
Yeah, it's a canned water company that I'm part owner of, and it's been so cool to work on it. And it's out of Canada. It's called Legend. We should be having it out in stores within the next 6 weeks. And very exciting because
is it flavored?
No,
is it carbonated?
It's a canned spring water from the mountains of Canada here in the Rockies, and we for instance, I'm always working on set, and we have the plastic bottles, and we just want to get rid of the single plastic use, and I love the idea of possibly bringing it to as many sets as I can, and obviously out in the stores. But there's a component because all of us everyone has a 1 degree of separation of a loved one going through depression, going through possible suicide or suicidal tendencies, and rehab and stuff, and I've lost some friends to it. I've been dealing with a friend that just really trying to get him in the rehab. So everyone's got their struggles. I've had a huge here and there bouts with depression. Everyone goes through it. So what we did was we put a QR code on the can that says Legends Supporting Legends. It goes to our homepage, but also it goes to a suicide crisis hotline and a bunch of links to facilities all over Canada for rehab and trying to get you in there. And we're going to be working with a few companies to also pay for people to go to rehab.
Nowadays, you hear more and more people talk about mental health, and I do.
We didn't have it back in the day. Like it was an embarrassing thing to talk
and
about.
it was thought of as a
taboo.
Yeah, because you always had that person in the family who it would always kind of be explained away, like, oh, they're just quirky or they got their issue. Even like ADHD. A lot of kids, very intelligent, had all kinds of opportunities, but they were labeled in the 80s as being lazy or whatever.
Yes.
The whole idea, like, you're a guy who's a boxer, physicality, and you can discuss this. I think when you see, because it used to be a weakness thing,
dude,
and
it would be.
It used to be perceived as a weakness.
Yeah, like you said, it would be explained away, and no one would really talk about it. And I feel like ADHD was a part of my life because was considered lazy, but nothing interested me in a certain way, or things didn't interest me, and because I didn't want to do them, I just had a component of ADHD. But the idea that there is help out there and people are more open to it, and I love the fact that there's no sad spin on it. I don't want to put a sad spin on it. The idea is, hey man, there's people out there, and all you got to do is hit this QR code if you need somebody to talk to. If we can help one person, I am stoked. Even this conversation right now, talking about it without the can even in their hand, is going to hopefully help someone. But I'm 6'5", and people have this idea that, somebody that can handle themselves physically has it all made. But, mental issues hit everybody, and it's not something to brush under the rug, and it's something to talk about with love, and hopefully get some help and not a judgment on it. And I really hope, I'm confident that we can do some really great things with this water company.
And we grew up in a roughly the same era, Gen X kids, and
yeah,
I had that perspective. My kids, 18, 19, 21, and kind of like going, when I was their age, what was going on? What was I thinking? How was I feeling? That kind of a thing.
But even like when therapy wasn't even a thing, it was the guidance counselor that you should talk to. You know what I mean? Like that was the trip, because thinking about it growing up, it was never a conversation of let's go to therapy or are you depressed? It's like, come on, pull up your bootstraps and just do this thing. And so now we're in a place. I feel like now we're in a place where to talk about it with love and a positive energy that there's help out there, and that everyone goes through it. You're not an island. We all go through it, and that's the scariest thing, I think, when people go through this, is that they think they're an island and that there's no help out there.
Well, it's the nature of the beast. It makes you feel isolated.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
But what are you working on right now? Do you have anything coming out anytime soon? Anything on film, TV, anything?
Yeah, I wish. Oh man, I wish I could talk about it. But I just shot a cool series, and then I have fight rehearsal for a film that isn't announced yet, and then I go to another. I want to say the place, but I can't say the place. But yeah, there's
Those
some
pesky NDAs getting in the way. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some really, really great, cool things. So I've got like 4 projects coming out that I'm really excited about. 2 that I'm still working on. So I'm excited. Very, very lucky.
Before we get running, I always have my 7 questions I like to ask.
Oh.
A little extra, get to know you. Some little fun. Food guy, started off talking about lunch. I always like to ask, first question, what is your favorite comfort food?
Sushi.
Sushi. Any particular kind of sushi?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, a spicy tuna roll, sashimi, just when I can get sashimi, spicy tuna roll, California roll, like unagi and ebi, and like all. I love sushi. Sushi is the spot for me.
My kids, we always sit at a table because they're, when there are 3 of them with me. You can't really sit at the bar because, you want to talk to them, and one's all the way far down the bar, But I do like when I can go take one of them, sit at the bar, watch them make it, because I'm that artisanal vibe that the chef's got. Yeah. Sushi, I'm there with you. I'm there with you. Now, next question, if you're to sit down at a table, have some coffee, talk story, 3 people, living or not, who would those 3 people be that you would like to spend a few hours with?
Marlon Brando. Muhammad Ali, for sure. And Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan,
yeah.
Genghis Khan was, he was prolific. He's the reason why I think I saw something that he's the reason why there's something percent that show up in that DNA test. Like you got a little Mongolian in you. It's like, how's
That's right. That's right.
He was prolific. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Now, going back to when you were a young Alex, who was your first celebrity crush?
Oh, who is? Phoebe Cates. Wow, yeah, Phoebe Cates.
Still the reason why I don't like Kevin Kline. He took her from us.
Yeah, he did. He did. But Phoebe Cates, man. What was it? What was the movie? What was the movie when she comes out of the Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yes. That movie, I mean, how many amazing careers did that movie spawn? Or how many people were in that movie that just blew up? But she retired from acting to just, to not to just be a parent, because that's awesome to be a parent. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, I still want, come on, I'm a kid of the 80s, still wanted to see her on film.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Phoebe Cates.
Phoebe Cates.
That's now you got me thinking of Phoebe Cates. Now, if you're going to be forced to live on an island, I'm not forced, but you're going to live on an island, actually very like a resort, but it doesn't have internet, and no streaming, no nothing. So you got to bring one movie on DVD, one album on CD. What's the album? What is the movie you're going to bring? You're going to live on the island for a year.
Rocky, the first Rocky, and the album, I think. The album, I think, would have to be Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was figuring it was going to be a Rocky.
Yeah.
I was assuming if it's going to be Rocky, it's got to be the first one.
It's got to be the first one.
Nothing against the sequels, but the first one was the one.
Genesis.
Yeah. Now, if you're to say, next question, your definition from the time you get up to the time you go to sleep, your definition of a perfect day, what would that be for you? Like the component parts of that day.
It's got to be a beautiful, sunny, hot day. A chill coffee in the morning. Running with my dog, whose name is Brando.
Okay.
Running Brando a little bit.
Well, what kind of dog you got?
He's a double doodle. He's a He's a Bernese Mountain Dog Doodle mixed with a Australian Shepherd Doodle. He's the coolest. He's the coolest dude ever. And being with the one that I love, and enjoying, our times together, and doing outdoor stuff, and then finishing off, and it's legal in BC, finishing off with a little joint, watching a movie.
That sounds like a perfect day to me. Now, last couple questions. If you weren't doing this for a living, you weren't finding joy in doing this, excuse me, if this wasn't part of your life,
right?
What would you find joy in doing besides this?
Man, what a great question. It's got to be. I just love working with people so much, and I love a little bit of a stature in that position, because when either in my band or even with people around me, I hate seeing bullies in high position. And so I love being in a high position and welcoming everybody in, like being on Van Helsing, every actor that came through, even the crew, I love talking to them, saying good morning to them, making them feel like they're enjoying being at work too. So I always feel like everyone does such a better job when they know somebody that's higher up sees them, because I know that's how it felt for me. So that a position in that type of thing, I like working with people.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't ever like feeling like I'm elevated. I like learning.
Yeah,
putting yourself, everybody's on the same level kind of experience. Yeah. And you're talking, you're learning. Yeah, I love that. But the last question I got for you, you're to jump in that DeLorean. You're going to go back in time, back to when you're 16 years old, and you got a piece of advice you want to give yourself, whether you're wanting to make that moment a little bit better for yourself or set yourself up on a different path. What's that piece of advice you've got?
I think I would have loved to have been told it's okay to screw up. You're not an island, and screwing up doesn't mean it's bad.
That's where we do the most learning, right?
yeah. But when like I grew up where it wasn't about learning. It's like if you didn't get it right, then like you should get the hell out of here type thing. So I would have loved to be nurtured in those aspects a little bit more.
You're a young teenager. It's kind of like you think everything is so dramatic and life altering, and just kind of chill, and things have a way of working themselves out.
It's weird because you literally sit there going, there's a part of you that feel like you're invincible when you're in your 20s, like nothing, you don't think about the future, you're invincible. And then there's the other part of you going, why do I not know who I am? Why do I feel like I'm floating? Like, and you just you have to go through all those trials and tribulations to find out who you are. So having, I like the idea of mentors too. And I think they're...
Oh, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, I appreciate you taking time out. I know you're busy, and just sitting down chatting. I always love talking stories, so I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have a chance to catch up down the line, my friend.
I would love that, Mark. Thanks for taking the time and having me on, man.
All right, there you go. Aleks Paunovic. Enjoy the conversation. Just a cool guy. I don't think I've had a chance to speak with anybody who's been a boxer and a heavy metal musician. Cool dude. Really enjoyed it. Right now, you can catch him again on the new and final season of Snowpiercer, which is on AMC. Do me a favor if you would. Make sure to follow Story and Craft on your podcast app. That way you get notified every time there's a new episode. Leave a star, leave a review. Whatever you do is greatly appreciated. All right, so that's it for me. I'm running on out. As always, a little bite to eat shall be had. You go have yourself a great rest of your week. Thank you for making our time together part of whatever you got going on. We'll connect next time right here on Story and Craft.
That's it for this episode of Story and Craft. Join Mark next week for more conversation right here on Story and Craft. Story and Craft is a presentation of Mark Preston Productions, LLC. Executive producer is Mark Preston. Associate producer is Zachary Holden. Please rate and review Story and Craft on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. You can subscribe to show updates and stay in the know. Just head to storyandcraftpod.com and sign up for the newsletter. I'm Emma Dillon. See you next time, and remember, keep telling your story.
Come on.